Okay, we're recording.
We're good? Okay, perfect. So thank you for joining us today on our first Wednesdays at noon presentation for the 2024-2025 academic year. We have two presenters, and the first one will be Ava is it Leahy or
Ava Vila-Leahey.
Leahy? Okay, very good. So Ava, if you want to maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself and proceed to your presentation. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Audrey, for having me. So I'm Ava Vila-Leahey. I am a MITACS BD advisor, and I represent the faculties of medicine and health with any projects I would go through there. So if there's any projects that you want to apply for MITACS funding, I'm happy to chat more and happy to help facilitate that as well. Should I just go on to my presentation right away, or should Karlee introduce herself? I'm not sure.
If you want to now, or you can introduce yourself, Karlee, when you present. It's up to you.
I'll introduce myself later.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so let me just pop up my presentation 1 second. And oh, here we go, share. Okay, can you see my screen? All right, excellent. Okay, so just a brief introduction, probably wondering, for some people may not know who or what MITACS does. So what are we? Let's get to problem when you have multiple screens. Here we go. So can you see the next one? Okay, good. Just making sure. So what is MITACS? We are a not-for-profit in Canada. We are across the country. We've been around for 25 years. And what we do is we are here to help empower Canadian innovation through partnerships between academia and non-academic partners. So how we do this essentially is we have non-academic partners. They have R&D based questions or innovation questions that they need support, and they don't have the expertise in-house, or they're trying to look for, let's say, the local talent to see who can help them with this. So this is where we can come in. We can help facilitate those connections between those non-academic partners and academic partners, which would be people at School of Nursing, and help develop these projects. And another way we support this is by help offsetting the amounts paid for the stipend of the student that will do this project. So it's a great opportunity for the student to get that non-academic experience, working in field industry, for example. Also helps with the industry partner getting to know the local talent and also getting to learn about the expertise that is available at the universities. Okay, so how do we fund this? We do this, we fund across multiple aspects through the entire innovation spectrum. So if you have, let's say, a research and development project with a non-academic partner, we have the Accelerate and Elevate program that can help with that. So basically, it's an award that can be given to students or interns to do the work for this project. We support national and international collaborations, and the projects are involving the academic and non-academic organization. So just to go a little more into detail, I always describe my tax projects, as having like a team that's like a triangle. So we have the intern. The intern can be an undergraduate, graduate student, postdoctoral fellow, recent graduate up to 2 years, and also college students. Basically, anyone that is within that can be supported to do a project by MITACS, essentially. So they're the ones doing the project. Then you have the academic supervisor, which would be someone at the School of Nursing that is eligible to hold, basically, if you can hold tri-council funds, you can hold this. They will be the supervisor for the student. So they're not necessarily doing the project at all, really. That's the student's work, but you're there for the troubleshooting if they have help, because again, they're still students, maybe they still need some support. You are there to help them with guiding them on that project. And then we have the non-academic partner. They're the ones that come with the R&D project or the innovation-based project. and they need that support. And they also supply for part of the funds towards the student and towards the research. And I'll go into more detail about each of these aspects in follow-up slides. We also have an entrepreneurial arm where, as I described, we have the intern and the non-academic partner. Sometimes we have interns that are starting companies. So they are two aspects of the triangle in that sense. They are the student and the industry partner. So we can help fund them to help develop any R&D work with their new startups or with their projects. And we support all sectors and disciplines. So like I said, I work with Faculty of Medicine and Health, but I also work with any projects that come out of NSCC and also with University of King's College. Basically, if it is an R&D based project or an innovation project with an eligible non-academic partner, then we can support it. As you can imagine, we get a lot of tech and also engineering based projects, but that does not mean we can support the scope of it. It could be surveying groups, optimizing procedures for, let's say, medical treatments, or surveying to determine what would be the best way to move forward in the industry. Sky's the limit, pretty much. So that's the Accelerate and Elevate program. We also have the Innovation Development program, which would be under the Business and Strategy internship. It has the same structure with the non-academic, academic, and intern. The difference is the project itself. The project is more innovation-based, specific to the company. So let's say they're trying to develop a new procedure. They're trying to see if they can move into a different or new market. They're looking to market something new or get into a new country. That can be under the innovation umbrella, but it follows the same criteria in the sense of eligibility and also student eligibility. So for this one, we offer national collaborations, and again, non-academic and academic organizations are involved. And then a little bit different, we can also support international interaction. So the Global Link program, which some may have heard of, is a bit more popular in Faculty of Medicine, Faculty of Health, is to support international collaborations between yourself and, let's say you have an international collaborator. So let's say you have an academic supervisor, collaborator, or professor in another country, and you have a student that can work on a project between the two of you to do that work. This is a travel fund to help that student go to that international institution and, let's say, develop a new skill to help with the project, bring it in, or something that it would be required to travel for this project to proceed. That is the sort of work we support there. So it's a travel fund for that, and it can also be inbound. So let's say you have an international collaborator with a student, bring them in, we can help support that as well. And I will go into more details in the following slides. Okay, so when I say partner organizations or non-academic, this is one of the reasons I've been coming around. So people who have heard of MITACS before, they're always like, okay, so the partner organization or the non-academic has to be a not-for-profit. That has expanded beyond for-profits. So now, aside from for-profits, the non-academic partner can be a municipality, a not-for-profit, or a hospital, which, as you can imagine, with Faculty of Med and Health, is a very big, can be a very big boost for some funding. So basically, if you have a project to support like R&D or innovation with the hospital, for example, in this case, you could, if they are willing to contribute part of the funds, we will contribute the other part of the funds to get this project going. And so it's a great help to kind of expand any research funds you may have. So a little more about the Accelerate program. So that's R&D-based projects. So it is not a competition. It's basically just any time of the year you have a project, you can submit it. There are no special calls in this instance. Decisions communicated between 10 to 12 weeks. It depends on the length of the project. And we build up projects based on units of time. So one unit is 4 months, or it could be 4 to 6 months. If you have a project that is only for, let's say, a summer, you can apply for 1 unit, so 4 months. Or let's say you have a year project with multiple interns with different levels, we can help develop that. So you apply for what is the requirements of the project, what is needed, the skill sets you need, whatever. So the larger the project may take a little longer because it is going to go through peer review. And we do have a high success rate. Part of that is because we have people such as myself and across the country basically here to support you with the application, from determining whether it would be eligible for funding all the way to submission. And that's what I'm here for. I review the applications as well, or get team members to help support with these application reviews to make sure that they go in as cleanly as possible. So like I said, we support trainees of all levels, undergrads, postdocs, and even recent grads. And they're here to address the broader research questions relevant to the partner and the broader research community. And we support all sectors and disciplines. So of course, now let's talk funds. I've been talking about funds a lot. So how it works is that we will invoice the partner for 50% of the funds, and we will contribute the other 50% of the funds. So those funds are to pay for the student or the intern to do the work. And then it will be held by you or someone at the faculty or this School of Nursing to hold the funds to pay the student as the academic supervisor. So for the stipend of the student, no money is coming from you in this case. I'll just briefly go over business strategy internship. It has pretty much the exact same thing. Like I said, 50-50 partner contribution and MITACS contribution, except the question is different. It's business challenges that they have, that the group might have. Same partner eligibilities as well. Anytime applications. The only thing is, because it doesn't go so much to, or because it's innovation rather than R&D, the review is a lot smaller. So it can be 4 to 6 weeks, essentially. And again, similar, I'm here for every step of the way for this sort of application. So another reason why I've been making my rounds to different faculties to discuss MITACS is because, again, we've made a lot of changes, especially around COVID times, to kind of adapt to what is now our reality with work. Before, it had to be 50% time spent physically at the institution, 50% of the time spent physically with the partner organization. So as you can see, that would be a bit limiting for applications and probably limit a lot to being within Nova Scotia in our case. However, we have changed that a lot. Now you can do virtual work, basically. So we have projects that are with Dalhousie academics working with a company in Ontario, in Vancouver. As long as you can still support the project virtually, and the partner organization is okay with it, and they can still support virtually regarding, bi-weekly, weekly meetings, making sure that the project is on target, access to materials or providing materials that is required, we can still support that. So now it does expand the eligibilities that we have for partner work. So now the funding, how much is it exactly? So we have 2 structures for both the Accelerate and the BSI. It is $10K every 4 months, or 4 to 6 months, excuse me, or $15K every 4 to 6 months for the intern. So for the $10K, $5,000 will come from the partner organization, $5,000 will come from us, and we will put money together, send it to Dal, and it'll be held by the academic supervisor to pay the student. The entirety of that $10K has to go towards the stipend of the student. Now for the $15K option, 7.5 from the partner, 7.5 from us, $10,000 minimum has to go towards the stipend of the student. If, let's say, the project has research material costs, or let's say the intern has to travel, needs to get some sort of equipment or training, let's say specific training outside of the scope that you have to pay for, up to $5K of the $15K can be allocated towards those costs. Or if you don't have that, but the funds are there, you can top up the students. So they're getting $15K stipend rather than $10K. So but that is an option as well. And that's only an option for the 15K to have that 5,000 allocation towards research material cost. So I know you guys have a graduate program. I wasn't able to see if it was a postdoctoral, but just in case, I am bringing this up because as you can imagine, 15K every 4 months, that amounts to 45K, which does not meet the current minimum for the new current minimum for postdocs. So we do offer, very similar to the Accelerate program, it is the Elevate program, which is specifically only for postdoctoral fellows. And you apply for it based on 1 year or 2 year projects. It's not every 4 to 6 months. Same eligibility for the partners as I had previously listed, except the only difference here is that the award amount is 60K, 30 from the partner, 30 from us. So therefore you are meeting that new minimum that is there for postdoc. So I've been kind of pushing this one now, or talking about this one a lot more, just to make sure, especially that this is an option, because with the 45K, if you apply for that for a postdoc, then Dow will ask where's the rest of the money going to be coming from. So now the Global Link Award. So again, this is for travel between, for a student between 2 institutions, one in Canada, one in an international institution. So basically you have to have your home academic supervisor, and then you have your academic supervisor abroad that you're helping do the research with, or you're gaining a skill or a technology, something that is required for the project to succeed, that requires you to travel, or for the student to travel. Similar eligibilities, and basically if the government of Canada says we can travel to those countries, then that is pretty much the instance. And also similarly for the inbound travel, and it's all listed on our website, those countries. It is a $6,000 travel award, and it's for projects that are within from 12 to 24 weeks. So the 6,000 goes towards like a minor stipend to pay for the student, but also for accommodations and travel. So this one has no industry partner required. There is some things with the 6K, because some, depending on the institution that the international is, all the 6K might come from us, or if it's not one of the listed institutions, it's all on our website. Part of the fund may come from one of the academic supervisors, $2,000, while the other 4,000 comes from us. But that's again more of a case-by-case situation that you can reach out to me to see which is the instance for it. So this one, we have the Global Link Research Internship. So again, very similar. This one is call-based, and we are currently just finished with the student call. So what this one is that to bring in senior undergraduates from across the world into Canada to get experience in the Canadian academic landscape. Maybe you find a new grad student for this, or a new student that wants to come to Canada to do research and work. So for this one, it's a 12-week summer research internship open to international senior undergrads, and the full cost is covered by us. Basically, how it works is that from April to June, we will have a faculty call where basically any faculty can put up a project on our platform saying, this is the project I want an undergrad to do for those 12 weeks. They'll post it on our website. So that's from April to June. August to September, we have students from around the world that will go onto the platform and look through all those projects and submit their interest for the ones that they are interested in. And then we're going to be moving now into November, February, which is the matching aspect. And then February, April is preparation for them to come to Canada, anyone that was selected. And May to September is the internship stages. So we just finished this past September. It would have been the recruitment of students that applied the year prior in 2023. So this is an opportunity as well. Like I said, it's call-based. So the next one will be beginning in April for the next round of interns to come. So aside from talking here and helping prepare applications for anyone that is interested, What else do I do part of it? So aside from also talking about these special calls like the Global Link Research Internship, reaching out, advertising it to the group, and also sharing it with Karlee to share with the rest of the faculty as well. I also talk to industry partners who are looking for this expertise. So sometimes we have industry partners coming to us saying, hey, we have this project, but we don't know who would be able to support us. And let's say it's a project that I think would be a really good fit for the School of Nursing, for example. I can then share the project with you folks and basically say, hey, is anyone interested in this, and to take on this project, and I can help make those connections. Or if you have questions about, hey, I have this really cool project, do you know of anyone that might be able to support this? I could help make those connections as well. Basically, I'm here to matchmake essentially in one aspect of my job, to help find those collaborations and help support the innovation in these R&D projects, help make them become a reality. And like I said, I'm also here to basically any questions you have about MITACS or thoughts about I have a project, would this be eligible? Happy to answer anytime. So feel free to reach out. So like I said, we're not-for-profit. We are predominantly funded by the government, both federal and provincial. So part of it is to help, we want to help retain this talent. I mean, part of the aspect of this is to help prevent the brain drain that we see of people going to, let's say, another country because you don't think there are these opportunities here. There are plenty of these opportunities here. It's just, this is a way to help support them and also help those groups find that local talent rather than outsourcing it. So that's it. Thank you so much for listening. I'm here to answer any questions. That's my contact. Reach out anytime. Yeah, happy to answer any questions now, or if you want to save that for later, can do that as well.
I actually have a question.
Sure.
I have never been able to get a MITACS fund. Is just the criteria never seems to match, but I haven't given up. I think one day I will make it work, but I do have a couple of questions. And
Sure.
has there ever been talk around so for example, when the category of a trainee, it's pretty self-explanatory, like you're looking at undergrad, grad, postdocs, or those that have graduated within 2 years.
Yes.
Has there ever been talk about like faculty members from developing countries? And the reason I'm asking is, as you know, the School of Nursing has been doing quite a lot of collaboration with India and the Philippines. There was a Research Nova Scotia competition for projects. The School of Nursing were funded with either the Philippines or India. And the faculty that we're collaborating with, because they have to be faculty with the School of Nursing, do not fit in that criteria of trainee, unfortunately. But they also are from universities that don't have the ability to, or they don't have the resources to be able to do a lot of like training opportunities to go abroad and participate or learn and that sort of stuff. And so even because they don't fit the criteria of a trainee, they wouldn't be eligible for one of these potential awards. And I'm wondering if there's ever been any talk around maybe expanding that for specific criteria institutions, like in developing countries where resources or opportunities for them just don't exist like they do for us here. That was one question. And the second question is that opportunity for the international undergrad to come and work on a project. Can that work the other way around, where a Canadian undergrad student go abroad? So it would be like someone, say I had an undergrad nursing student that, and I'm working with another organization overseas and giving that Canadian undergrad student that opportunity to do a project overseas, or is it only them coming here?
No, that's a great questions. I'm going to go with the second one first because that's a
Sure.
little bit simpler.
Yes.
So for Canadians to go abroad, so we have two options for that. So
Mhm.
GRI is specifically for bringing people into the country.
Okay.
The GRA, that's the first one I mentioned, where was the $6,000 travel award, could potentially be used for that. It has to be between two institutions
Okay.
in that sense. Now,
Okay.
for an international collaboration, now we do have, although it is going to be changing at the end of this month, we do have an international accelerate where we have Canadians working with an international partner, and it has to be a for-profit typically. Now, that is changing at the end of this month. From my understanding, and I can send you the details of that as soon as it gets made official, you still have to have one Canadian partner involved. So you'll have two partners in that case, a Canadian group and also an international group that is part of the MITACS project. And they both have to have some sort of foot in the game for this project. It can't just be like the Canadian group is there as a placeholder as a Canadian group. It has to be like they
Yeah.
also have some sort of benefit from the project.
Yeah.
So that is coming out at the end of this month. And I can send you more details about it, but that would be an opportunity there if
Okay.
that kind of fits what you're
Yeah.
thinking.
Okay.
As for the first one, unfortunately, at this point that I have seen, it is specifically has
Yeah.
to be students. But I mean, if that professor in one of those countries does have a student to come here to gain some of those skills to help bring it back, it can help develop a project there. So that could be one of the
Okay.
opportunities.
Okay.
And the international the international accelerate that I was already talking about, that could potentially be used. I'd have to see what the eligibilities will be. Like I said, I only have certain details of what it's going to be,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it could potentially also involve inbound for
Okay.
undergrads or graduate, but I'd have to double check.
Okay. Thank you.
No
I see
problem.
Karlee has her hand up there.
Thank you. So I was wondering if you could talk about the full-time expectations of interns during an internship, because I know
Yeah.
this can be confusing for supervisors sometimes. And
Mhm.
following that, if it's a 4-month internship versus a 6-month internship, but the compensation amount in total is the same, therefore, what are the hours? This
Yeah.
is always confusing.
Absolutely. No, thank you, Karlee. Regarding hours, we do not set hours, to be perfectly honest. It's basically $15,000, let's say, to do the project over 4 months or 6 months, it'll be stretched out. So the only real limitation would be if the department or if the university has set a minimum. So for example, like I said, with postdocs, an accelerate no longer is sufficient with the new change to $50,000 per year. So elevate would be able to make that minimum. If there is one set by the School of Nursing or anything like that for a minimum, that would be entirely kind of up to you to determine and tell us. But like I said, at this point right now, because our funds are from the government, so we have kind of a contract of what we can pay. It is the $10,000 to $15,000 with for paying. So it's not really hours based. It's basically you complete the project, as long as the project is completed. A lot of people, a lot of people do it during the summer. They are because they have more time to do the work of the project. But that's not to say that people during school hours, they'll have time to do the project, or they put in the hours that are required to get the project complete.
Okay, because I know there's a statement somewhere on the MyTax Accelerate pages that says full-time
Yes,
commitment, and that is a cause of great stress for people.
it is.
So
Yes, it is full time in the sense of like this should be your project. But I have seen like this is your project, you are doing this project. However, I have seen students doing it during the school year. And also regarding like grad students, like some people they do this as their grad project. So it can be done.
great, thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. This was very helpful. And I mean, we know where to find you. We have more questions and we'll have this presentation. So thank you so much, Ava. This was great.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Okay, so for our second presentation, we have Dr. Karlee Bamford, who is the Director for Research in the Faculty of Health. And Karlee, if you just want to tell us a little bit about yourself and whenever you want to start your presentation.
Great, thank you. Yes, so I'm Karlee Bamford, and I've been in the Faculty of Health for 2 years now, since September 2022. I'm a chemist by training. I am not a health researcher, and I always mention this because there are many things I can help you with, but ethics is not one of them. So I'll tell you a bit about what we do in the Dean's Office from the research team, and a little bit about, the services that includes and how we interact with other units on campus. And fun fact, I guess, to share with you, I don't have an awesome background, but I do have a seagull that walks by my window frequently and taps on it. So you might get to see him. He's a regular around here. So let me just share my screen. All right, hopefully we can see some slides, perhaps. Excellent. Oh, we're already one slide ahead. All right, so we're going to talk about research services in the Faculty of Health. And I thought I would start by showing you kind of an overview of where we are in the Dean's Office. So in the Dean's Office, of course, we have the Dean, who provides central leadership for all activities in the faculty, whether it's research, academics, and so on and so forth. And the Dean works in very close collaboration with several other units, including 3 associate deans. So we have the associate deans, research, equity and inclusion, and academic. And then we have the administrative teams within the dean's office. And there are 6 of us. So there's communications, human resources, finance, advancement, strategy, and of course, research. And we all work very closely together, very collaborative bunch of people in the dean's office. But I've highlighted here research in black, not because we're special, but to say we are actually slightly different than the other operational or administrative teams, in that we have an affiliated associate dean. So none of the other areas have a designated dean. And you might say that this is the case because research deals with a lot of individuals. So research, of course, handles all individual researchers in the faculty. So it's very large portfolio. And within research itself, we do a little bit of everything. We do communications, we do HR, we do finance, we do advancement, and we do strategy. So it's slightly different than the others, but of course we work very closely with everyone in the dean's office. And I mentioned Stephen. Stephen may join us at some point. He likes to tap on my window. So that's where we are in the dean's office, but who we are, we have a team of 6 people on the research team, and this is led by our associate dean research, Sean Bowe. Some of you might not actually know that Sean is a full professor in the School of Physiotherapy, and so he's an active researcher with a number of grad students, and he has a background in kinesiology. He studies neuroscience currently. Myself, I am the director of research, and as I mentioned, my background is not in health research. I'm a synthetic inorganic chemist by training. And our most recent addition to the team is Paulina. Paulina just joined us in September, and she's our first ORS Health Research Facilitator. And this role is shared with the Office of Research Services, and it's the first of its kind for us. Paulina's got a background in social sciences and did her degree in Cardiff. Then we have our PhD health program. So this program lives at the faculty level. It's not embedded within any particular school. It covers all schools and college. So it lives in the dean's office, and we have a coordinator and administrator for that program. So our coordinator is Laurie Weeks, who was formerly a faculty member in the School of Nursing, and she's has a background in gerontology, and she's currently also the director of School of Health Admin. And working closely with Laurie is James. He is our program administrator, and he has a background in mathematics. And then finally, and certainly not last, but or least, is we have Janet. Janet is our administrative assistant, and she keeps us all on pace, keeps our calendars nice and tidy. And she's got a very interesting background. She was a consultant for many years and is founder of My Campus GPS, which is a great consultancy firm. And if you've ever received an email from fohr@dell.ca, it's Janet, who you are emailing with. So that's who we are, and I wanted to tell you a bit about our particular backgrounds, our training, not because degrees actually mean anything, but I want you to know that we're actually a motley crew in the dean's office, in the research team, and that's important because the research in the Faculty of Health is also a little bit of a motley crew. I want to show you this snapshot of what health research looks like in Dalhousie's Faculty of Health, because we have quite a wide range of interests and expertises in our faculty. So what you're looking at right now is a spherical distribution of journal codes, essentially, for all publications in the Faculty of Health from the last 5 years. And these journal codes are codes that you would recognize as things like pharmacy and health and physics and chemistry, common discipline names. And when you look at where we sit, basically we publish extensively in health-related areas. That's not surprising, but we also publish extensively in the social sciences, and we publish very widely in natural sciences, including engineering. And what I want you to know is that if we looked at this same plot in other faculties, it looks nothing like this. It's very concentrated in other faculties. In the Faculty of Science, they have pockets over here and pockets over here. They have absolutely nothing in the social sciences or health sciences. So we are very unique. We do a lot of different things, and thus we require a lot of different services. So I'll tell you what those services are currently for the Faculty of Health. So kind of hard to capture everything that we do, since we have people working in field research, we have people working in bench science, we have theoreticians, and we have experimentalists. But if I had to summarize, I would say that we assist faculty in navigating Dalhousie's research landscape, and most importantly, we advocate for faculty with administrative units elsewhere in the university. So most often this is the Office of Research Services and Financial Services. So we work closely with these offices and we liaise with them as needed to support our researchers. On behalf of the Dean, the Associate Dean Research, and myself and all of our team members, we're responsible for internal confirmation of any resources, supports, or space that are related to research to the Central University. And this kind of confirmation of support and so on is usually facilitated through Romeo, which some of you may already be familiar with. And we also do this in writing through letters of support. We write lots and lots of letters. An important function that we serve as well is preparing nominations for prizes, such as big awards and recognitions. We also provide strategic guidance to the faculty leadership at large, but also to individual faculty members with respect to their research programs. So that, in a nutshell, is sort of what we strive to do, and now I'll tell you a bit about how we actually do it. So the faculty has a number of funded programs that it offers, and the biggest of these, at least in terms of size, is PhD Health. And so I mentioned before that PhD Health doesn't live in any particular academic unit. It actually covers all academic units. So it's a faculty-wide program, and it admits about 12 to 15 students per year, and it provides student funding through that program. The faculty has a peer review program that is funded in the sense that we do provide compensation to reviewers. And I'll come back to this peer review program in a little while and give you some more information, but it is one of our funded programs. And then the meat of what we offer, if you like, are these 5 internal research funding programs or competitions. So for new faculty members, we offer a research establishment grant or startup funding that's specific to their research discipline and needs. And then we offer an annual research development grant competition every fall, typically. These are $5,000 grants that are meant to catalyze research towards external funding opportunities. So they're meant to be kind of pilot type projects that are funded through these grants. And we have our research equipment funding competition, which offers up to $30,000 per year to individual applicants to provide equipment for their research needs. And this is a really important program for us, since depending on which discipline you're in, whether you're in health or social sciences, securing equipment funding can be a real gap. So this is an important program that serves to fill that gap for a lot of researchers. And this is a competition that we have typically in the summer months. More recent addition to our offerings is the undergraduate summer research awards. So these are called USRAs, and they are offered in tandem with the federal funding that is also called USRAs. So you might have heard of the NSERC or CHR or SHRC USRAs that come out every year. So we offer this program to administer those federal awards as well as our own awards, which are funded by us. So they're identical in terms of purpose, just we fund them instead of the government. And that program runs in the winter, and student USRAs actually take place over the summer. So students engage in research for 4 months. So this is going to be our 4th year offering the program. We typically offer 7 to 12 of these awards every year. And then lastly, we have our matching funds. So per our faculty's matching fund policy, we offer matching funds on an ongoing basis to grants or applicants that require matching funds for a grant that they may be applying for externally. And that's a while funds last kind of program. So we communicate all important vital research information to the faculty primarily through our research update newsletter. So this is a newsletter that we send out every Thursday typically, and it first and foremost contains information about research funding opportunities and providing deadlines, including internal ORS, Romeo deadlines, but also provides information about opportunities that are coming up, be they events or workshops or training opportunities. Anything that is relevant to health research will end up in our newsletter. And as I mentioned, this is kind of our primary venue for communication. So we do include any internal information that's specific to the Faculty of Health. We choose to use this rather than emailing faculty-wide whenever we can. We also announce new resources through our newsletter. So when we do create new resources, they tend to live on our Brightspace, which I will describe in a few moments. And so we kind of introduce them via our newsletter. So it's an important resource for us, this newsletter itself, a very important tool, I need to say. Finally, the newsletter also often contains student and trainee opportunities, so things like scholarships or fellowships. And we include these in the newsletter so that supervisors can access that information and help build that as part of their research program to support students, in addition to, say, grant funding. But we additionally share this information directly with trainees. So we do have a postdoc mailing list that we maintain, and we have a comprehensive list of program contacts for all of the research-based programs, masters and doctoral in the faculty. So you may in the past have seen an email from me, or perhaps sent on behalf of me and sent on behalf of Chambeau, sharing particular scholarship opportunities with you. And this is just us trying to make sure the information gets to the people who need it. So the biggest resource that we probably maintain is our Faculty of Health Research Brightspace community, and it has 3 main axes, if you like. So the first of these is our grants repository, and that has examples of funded grants from numerous agencies and competitions, kindly shared by Faculty of Health researchers. And to access this repository, you need to finish or complete a confidentiality agreement. And then you have unfettered access to as many examples as you'd like to read. And we try and keep examples from a wide range of competitions. So we do have representation from pretty much every single major tri-agency competition. Then we have our funding your research section, which has an abundance of resources to help you actually prepare a grant application. So we have very general resources around how to write persuasively for an audience of academic reviewers. We have resources to help with preparing a budget and corresponding justification. And then we have some resources that are very tailored towards tri-agency grants. So in many, but not all, tri-agency grants, you are required to write what's called the most significant contribution statement. And so there are some stylistic choices that are recommended that we share with faculty members who are developing those kinds of documents. For folks who are working in the social sciences and the natural sciences, the corresponding funding agencies and CERC and SHRC require a significant incorporation of equity, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility within what's called research practice design, not research design itself. So this is an important document or resource that we provide to help people develop suitable plans, including training plans in their research grants that meet the expectations of those agencies with respect to EDIA. And then we have our library of tips and tricks documents, which provide, as the name suggests, tips and tricks for very specific grants. They are most often tri-agency grants, but also some resources that we've developed for funding. So we do have a tips and tricks document for Canada Graduate Scholarship, doctoral and master's scholarship applications, and we circulate that information to students every year. And then lastly, we have a small number of what we call playbooks. So these are really, really comprehensive resources, almost like a template for specific grants. And we developed these as a companion document to the guidelines provided by agencies. So these documents are not meant to duplicate the information from agencies. They are meant to supplement and provide prompts and guiding information to help develop a grant, starting from a blank page, from the very first moment that you start to work on a grant. So we have playbooks for Canada Foundation for Innovation, GELF opportunities, CIHR project grants, and SHIRK Partnership Engage at the moment. We have a few more that are kind of in progress, but not released yet. And finally, the kind of smallest section of our bright space, but always expanding, is our conducting your research section, which provides some guidance on conducting your research, as the name suggests. So how to carry out some activities in the Dalhousie context. So, for example, we have information there about HR processes for grant-funded employees. We have information to help researchers stay compliant with tri-agency requirements around open access and data management. We have some internal affiliate procedure information if you're seeking affiliate status with the hospitals. And we also have some templates regarding data transfer agreements. So there's a lot more than I've just described in this list of 4 points under the conducting your research section, but it's kind of a miscellaneous collection of things. So you never quite know if there's something you need, it might live there already. So this bright space is maintained by multiple members of our team in the Dean's office, but we do keep it up to date, and we do regularly check that the content is accurate and still meeting the criteria outlined in relevant sources such as grant guidelines. So another significant resource that we offer to faculty members is actually a human resource in the form of grants facilitation. So myself and Sean, we work closely with applicants on all major institutional applications. So for example, applications to the Canada Foundation for Innovation and Canada Research Chair programs. And we provide individualized guidance and planning for faculty who are planning out kind of what research funds they are wanting to secure in a long-term horizon. So we would sit down and talk about where a researcher wants to go and kind of what they want to achieve and discuss a plan to get there in terms of grants or even prizes or awards that they might target in the future. We also provide, and this is a kind of a new offering in the last 2 years, review of competitive tri-agency, so federal funding opportunities for doctoral students and postdoctoral candidates. So we do provide review of Canada graduate scholarships, Vanier, Banting, and tri-agency PDFs. And this is a kind of while capacity lasts offering. You know, we try to support as many files as we can, but it's offered on a first come, first served basis. And I mentioned that Paulina is a brand new member to our team. And so this bullet here around her services as the ORS Health Grants Facilitator is brand new for us. Paulina's role has been created to offer early application feedback on grants that are being submitted by Dalhousie Faculty of Health researchers. And her priority is focused on applications for tri-agency competitions and is again on a first come, first served basis. And her review is very different than the kind of existing Romeo review that happens close to submission of a grant. Her review is very early, so we kind of call it pre-Romeo review. She's meant to be engaged with researchers months before an application deadline, and she'll be working with you folks probably in the future, I hope. So if you're interested, reach out. And then lastly, our faculty-wide peer review program has been launched, I suppose, in July. So this peer review program was created after extensive consultation with faculty members about resources that might support them in succeeding with external grants. So after much demand, we launched this process. And currently it's open to major tri-agency competitions. So for example, SHIRK Insight or CIHR Project Grant. And to summarize kind of how the process works, reviewees can submit by a given deadline for a given competition, and they receive feedback from 2 reviewers within 10 business days. And those reviewers receive compensation per file that they review, and the compensation is in a form of research research dollars deposited to a research account. And no reviewer is required to review more than twice per year. So we hope it's a fairly low commitment. And of course it is remunerated in some way. And at the moment, our peer review program is accepting two different submission types. So it accepts full applications, meaning a full draft of a grant towards an upcoming competition, but we also accept concept summaries. And these are kind of, you can think of them as pitches. The idea here is that you submit an idea, a very brief summary of motivation, planned methodology, and expected impact. And you pitch that to reviewers to really find out, is this something that's fundable, or is this something that's ready to be submitted if it were developed into a full grant? So you get that kind of quick feedback about whether or not maybe this needs to be rethought before you spend hours and weeks and months working on a full grant application. So lastly, what I want to show you is just some of the data that we collect and deal with in the Dean's office within the research team. So we use a lot of bibliometric and grant capture data to inform our decisions and to really understand who we are and what it is we do in the Faculty of Health. So we generate data reports for individual faculty members, as well as teams of faculty members or teams that might be multi-institutional. We generate data reports for individual schools or colleges, and we also, of course, generate data for the entire faculty at large. So just as an example of what some of the data actually looks like in terms of representation, I'm showing you here two chord diagrams, and what these are pairwise related data sets that are plotted in polar coordinates to show you collaborations. So what they're showing you is between every entity, which is described by a different color, we can see lines. So what I'm showing you on the left here is a plot of the connections between the priority research areas that we track in the faculty. We have 3 of them. And every line that you see represents a collaboration between those 2 entities in the faculty. And a collaboration here is counted as a co-authored publication by a researcher from this area and a researcher from this area. And the thickness of the line represents number of those publications. So thicker the line means stronger connection. And we plot the data this way because it helps us to visualize where we have existing connections, but it also helps us to see possibly where there's opportunities for new connections. So over here on the right, we have the same data plotted instead of by priority area, but by school of where researchers reside. So what we can see immediately is that our faculty is very, very collaborative. This is quite different than how other faculties look in Dalhousie. And we can see that, for example, nursing has significant connections to pharmacy, health and human performance, and occupational therapy, but maybe has some smaller connections right now to social work that maybe could change in future by strategically making some matches between researchers in those units. So this is kind of how we look at these data, how we think about them, and how we use them. We use these data for impact analysis, both internally and externally at Dalhousie. So we, for example, look at how is research being consumed in a non-traditional metric. For example, are researchers' contributions, their outputs being cited by policy and patents? So there's many different ways that we can kind of represent that data, but often it ends up in a sentence such as this, where we say, in the last 5 years, health researchers have been cited by 162 different policy bodies from 29 different countries. And it sounds very impressive, and it is very impressive. But what it really tells us is that our research is actually going outside of the academy, and it's having an impact, and it's quite diverse, and it's quite extensive. A fun fact I'll share with you is that the Faculty of Health's top citing policy body is the World Health Organization. And I think that's quite impressive. Finally, we use these data for our own sakes to determine areas of emerging strengths within our university and within our faculty. So we look at where are we finding success that's perhaps above the norm or usual? Where is there exceptional activity happening with respect to scholarly output, and especially with respect to uptake of scholarly output relative to other institutions? So I won't get in too much here, but to tell you that we have data that if we manipulate it appropriately, we can see where are we excelling and where have we not recognized that yet that we are excelling, and how do we actually use that information to enterprise on a strength that's growing. So with that, I'll just end by sharing again our team list. So to remind you who we are and the range of things that we kind of work on collectively, and to say that we are here and we hope to help you, and we hope to hear from you. So thank you very much for listening. I will try to answer questions if there are any.
Thank you so much, Karlee. And you're very good for those kind of offbeat questions that sometimes we have and we're like, I don't know the answer to this. I'll send it to Karlee. So thank you for that. You
You're
have a very
so
important
welcome.
role.
I like to say when I do research orientations with new researchers, the number one time I hear from people is when something's wrong. And while I love that, I do like to hear from people when it's a good news story.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
I know mine
I guess
was
we don't have any
dry.
questions.
That's okay. I answered it all.
You did. That was a great, and I do like the research that you do, like how the research that's generated from the Faculty of Health is being dispersed and used. I think that's really cool. I like that. I think that's great to continue to do that. I mean, we, for our faculty, we do produce a lot and it's impressive, right? So it's a nice, it's nice to look at that, the successes that we do.
Absolutely. I mean, Faculty of Health is well above Dalhousie's average for some of these metrics. So, I mean, we have to celebrate that, but also understand it, encourage it, and make sure that other people see it. So,
Very good. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we have a few minutes to spare. So thank you everyone for joining us in our first Wednesdays at noon. And we'll look forward to the next session. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having me. Bye.